Good evening. It is 5:15 to September 25th, and the Carroll City Council is now in session. Would you all please rise and join with me in a Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have tonight's agenda in front of us, and roll call. We know, duly noted, Aaron and Laverne are in D.C., unable to join us tonight. We will move towards the consent agenda, which includes the following: approval of the minutes of the September 11th meeting. We have approval of this cycle's bills and claims. We have there's one license to approve. Class B retail alcohol license for Carroll Can Redemption. And if there are no questions or comments, I would seek a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda unless.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve tonight's consent agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Fornero.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Seaman.
Yes.
Schreck.
Yes.
Base.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Perfect, thank you. As always, we have item number 4, which is oral request communications from the audience. Members from the public can approach the council. I see that there are no takers, so we will move on under ordinances. There are none tonight, so we will swiftly move to item number 6 under resolutions and turn it over to you, CT.
Awesome. Tonight we got a public hearing on.
Oh, yeah, I got to open the public hearing first.
Sure.
Sorry. Yeah, I was going rapid fire there. So I'm going to open the public hearing. I'm sorry, Laura, thank you. 5:17, we'll open the public hearing, and that's my bad, and now you're on.
You're good.
Thank you.
So on August 23rd, 2023, plan specifications and form of contract and estimated costs for the Merchants Park renovation project were filed by Shive Hattery. This is broken down below. Plans include renovation of the protective netting and bleachers at Merchants Park. That will include brand new protective netting out past the dugouts, replacement of the chicken wire, and getting rid of the older aluminum bleachers and replacing those with ADA specific aluminum bleachers. Specifications for the project include American Institute of Architects of AIA documents and master spec technical specifications. The form of contract is AIA document A101-2017. Total estimated cost for the project came at $288,075. I also have included the funding sources for where we are at right now, as well as overall project estimated costs for the entirety of all pieces of the project. And along with a schedule of construction, that was put out before we put the bids in and got those back. So my recommendation is for the mayor and city council consideration and approval of the public hearing resolution adopting the plan specifications, form of contract, and estimated costs for Merchants Park Improvement Project 2023 netting and bleachers.
So Chad, real quick question. The bleachers that are being removed, are those, will there be a trade-in value on those? Are those sold? What happens with those?
As of right now, when we put it out the first time, we had contacted several other local communities to see if there was any need for them. Some places have already replaced their bleachers. We really don't have a need for this big a bleacher set. Otherwise, it was part of the bid for removal.
So they're just getting taken out and we won't have anything.
As a part of the plans right now.
I'll just comment, the only thing I can think of would be when we have summer swim, there's definitely not enough bleacher space there for parents and gathering, especially when we host conference.
Yep.
That would be the only reason that I can think of, other than taking them out to Little League, I'm probably not saying this right, Little League Sports Complex. I mean,
Yep.
because it is a big
Which
set and those
all
are
of our
smaller
fields
areas.
do have bleachers already out there.
They do. They're just a
We
lot
had
smaller.
talked about the smaller, so the third base dugout bleachers going out to maybe field 7, since Kemper's been using that. But I
Yep.
don't think there's enough room for that big of bleacher set. Same thing with the pool. You know, we can look at bringing in, you know, next time we have those competitions, you know, the portable ones that we bring in for state baseball, I think would be adequate to bring in for like summer swim team. Cause if we put those in, they're gonna be permanent in there. And they're very, very large. So it would be, like I said, permanent in that case. So maybe we do look at bringing those ones from, I wanna say we get them from Glidden, maybe the county fair. I think they bring them down for the county fair, I don't know. But we have access to 2 sets of mobile bleachers that we bring out for state baseball and put on the ends of those currently. So we could definitely look at bringing
Okay.
those in.
I went back and looked, you know, last year when we first, you know, surfaced this plan, and it looked like all of the original numbers and funding mechanisms, with the exception of those Destination Iowa grants that we missed, but it's essentially your funding numbers, and it is exactly the same. And we haven't had any
We've gotten a
reason
couple of
to.
no's back on some of our, like Union Pacific grant. We did have Iowa West Foundation in town on Friday. Chris and I believe Aaron went through with them, and as far as I know, everything went really well. That one wouldn't be let until November. The Merchants or the Carroll Athletic Association is going through and doing private fundraising right now before we open it up to the public. And Chris has told me that it's going very well too.
Okay. But your overall costs they were always just north of 900,000,
Yep.
and it still remains.
As of right now, I'm sure after these bids came in, they'll probably get tweaked a little bit as the engineers reach out to both Minturn and Baiting
Okay.
and kind of talk through where their numbers are coming from.
Okay. When do you anticipate our next follow-up will be with IHSSA, state baseball?
We had a wrap-up meeting here probably a couple of weeks ago, you know, more or less end of August, early September. Plans are going very, very well with them. I told them where we're at in the project. They're very happy with coming back, you know, next year is the last year in their contract. And, you know, they said it's very, very promising going to the future. Now, I don't think they've released any information on that yet, but they love Carroll and they want to be here.
I just recall, Laverne's not here tonight, but I just recall him, you know, he brought up a point that it's kind of a catch-22, you know, who's going to blink first? You know, we want to make these improvements for sure, you know, provided, you know, that we have some kind of. Now, if you talk to Chris Whitaker, he says the Merchants is just, you know, it's just fine, you know, do it just for them is what he's saying. So, but I think we'd all like to make sure that we make a sound investment.
Oh, 100%.
So. Okay, are there any other questions? Any comments? Did you receive any
We have
public
received none yet.
comments? Notification was in the paper, I saw, so. So no other public comments came in. Any other questions or comments
I do
while the
on
public
on
hearing's
these
still on?
bleachers. What do they do for the tennis matches down there? Is there anything to put down there in the park?
Right now, we don't have anything down there either. We wouldn't be able to put any of these sections of bleachers in around there either,
Just due to their size or
just due
something?
to their size. Yeah, I don't know where you would even be able to fit them.
That's sad.
Too tall, too wide, or both?
Both. Yeah,
Because that is a good
'cause these are
idea.
probably 40-some, 50-some feet long, probably another 40, 50 feet wide, and then they are probably 20 to 20, probably about 22 feet tall. I guess 18 row bleachers, so they go up pretty high.
But you're pretty confident you think you can find some use for them somewhere?
Yeah, this gives us more
And-
time to try and
right.
find some other uses. I
Okay.
mean, we have
If
the
not, they've
option.
got value to somebody
We
then,
reached
right?
out to a couple other local communities, just, hey, do you guys need bleachers? We'll allow you to come in, take them apart, and take them away. No one, either they didn't get back to us, or they said, no, we don't need anything that size.
Okay.
So if we're gonna wait again, deny the bids tonight, or whichever way the council may go, it gives us more time to try and figure out if
Okay.
there's anybody else out there that wants them.
And we're good at the adult complex, right?
Yep,
Okay. I'll keep your thinking caps on.
sure.
Anything else for Chad? I'm about ready to close the public hearing unless anybody disagrees. I've got about 5:26 that will close the public hearing on this matter. And then, per recommendation is consideration, conduction, and then passage and approval of the resolution to adopt the plan specs and form of contract for the Merchants Park Improvement Complex for the netting and bleachers only, correct?
Correct.
Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Misty and second by Carolyn. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Base,
Yes.
Shrek. Yes. Reniero.
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Seaman.
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Thank you. So, rolling right along, I'm not going to make the second mistake twice. That'd be too bad. So I'm going to open up public hearing for Merchants Park Baseball Stadium Project 2023 dugouts. It is now turning 5:27. And I'll turn it back over to you, Chad.
Awesome. On August 23rd, 2023, the plan specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Merchants Park renovations project were filed by Shive Hattery. This is part 2 of the broken down overall project. The plans included renovation and expansion of the existing dugouts to add 3 feet of width to these dugouts, along with some different hand railings, player seating, and added coaching areas. The specifications for this include American Institute of Architects AIA documents and master spec technical specifications. The form of contract is AIA document A101-2017. The estimated cost for the project for base bid and design and construction contingency was $65,550. Once again, I've added the funding for the project, along with the overall estimated cost for the full project, and as well as the projected schedule. Once again, my recommendation is to consider conduction of the required public hearing and passage and approval of the resolution adopting the plan specs, form of contract, and estimated cost estimate for Merchants Park Improvement Project 2023 for the dugouts.
Okay, same thing, only different. Any questions for Chad on this one?
And we have not received any comments
That's what I was just
on
going to
this
ask.
as well.
You know, a couple weeks ago, I was just going to ask, we approved soil compaction tests and things like that. This pertains mostly to the dugouts then, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep. This would be more steel testing, concrete testing, everything like that is what
okay.
CTS's bid was for.
And being as we just did that, I assume they haven't even begun or even given
Nope,
us an
They
idea.
won't start until a project is
Compl-
awarded.
Okay, perfect. So that's the next step then. Okay. Any other questions for Chad on the dugouts? Okay, no other comments then. So I think we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 5:29, Laura. And then per the memo, we've already conducted the public hearing. So we just need a passage and approve a resolution to adopt the plan specifications, form a contract for the Merchants Park Improvement Projects 2023. Is there a motion?
So Chad, real quick, on this estimated cost breakdown, there's $57,500 for the dugout expansion. And then is that right? The bid came in at 192.8?
And we can talk about that when we actually hit the bid report.
Yeah, it's coming next.
Okay.
But if you got a question about it, go ahead and ask it now.
What's the, I'm sure through that report, it's gonna say, why they're $130,000+ higher than what was expected.
Yeah. So again, that's one thing we're having our architects and our engineers going through. They're gonna try and pick the brains of both companies. And, I had a brief conversation with Baiting, and they just said it was very labor intensive. This, in our minds, wasn't a super tough project to do. So we're just kind of wanting to get to the bottom of it and see if there's different ways that we can either make it easier, or if there's just different ways, I don't want to say around it, but to simplify the project, to make it as efficient as possible, and why both companies would seem to think that this is such a labor-intensive job.
Where did the estimated cost come from?
Shive
Engineers.
Hattery.
Nice. So engineers thought it would cost 65.5, and the other two think it's gonna cost 192,000, 193,000. There's a big disconnect.
Correct. We need to find out where that disconnect is.
Yeah.
I agree.
We'll visit that in just a second. I think we want to just approve the resolution for the form of contract, at least for right now. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Carolyn,
Second.
seconded by JJ. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Seaman?
Yes.
Shrek? Base?
Yes.
Reniero?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes, perfect.
Resolution is approved.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along. Chad,
Again.
you're still back on with
Absolutely.
Merchants Park, and then a report of said bid openings.
Yep. So on September 14th of this year, we conducted the bid opening for both of these projects. Both of those are shown below with the netting and bleachers project. Minturn Construction had the low bid at $386,900 with an estimated project cost of $288,755. And the dugout project, the low bidder was Baiting Construction at $192,800, estimated project cost at $65,500. As I let you guys know on Friday after we got these turned in, the reason we split these up and try to get them in before the end of outdoor construction season was to try and get stuff rolling at our park. I do believe it was a bit of a shot in the dark. If we would have gotten some really competitive bids that came in low, there's definitely ways that we could get around it, getting the sod done on time, not having to get on the field at certain times. But obviously the field's health is our number one priority, because if we don't put it to bed right, it's not going to come back in the spring right. So we decided to divide up the project to hopefully get some good timing and get some really good competitive bids. Unfortunately, we don't believe we got those during this short of time frame. As I said in the email, we'd probably be looking mid-October before they could start. I do feel like both construction companies would feel like they'd be being rushed before ground freeze, weather changes, everything like that. And I do think that does have a bit of an effect on the prices. So this also allows us to go after much more fundraising. It allows us to go after the large grants again. Gives us a full nother cycle for a lot of these competitive grants that do not allow you to move forward with a project before their grant awarding. So my recommendation is to reject both attached bids for Merchants Park netting and bleachers project and the dugout project to allow for more future funding and better time opportunities for construction.
Chad, when you apply for the additional grants, will they require you to include the architect's estimates as a part of the
Usually they do.
application?
Yep.
So you're gonna have to visit with the
Correct.
engineers and get things firmed up better.
Correct.
So you make sure you apply for enough money that
Yep.
you're.
And we're anticipating going back out to bid probably in April.
Okay.
That gives
Oh,
us
so
about
you have
3 to
plenty of
4
time.
months, or
Okay.
about 5 months to get
Yeah.
our ducks in a row, to review a lot of these numbers,
Okay,
to combine several of these projects into one. That way they have, I mean, August 1, you can get in there and start construction.
Yeah.
That gives them the best opportune time window to get to work, and it allows us to continue to fundraise all the way up into that
Yeah,
point.
and our ask needs to be a pretty healthy one. I mean, given
Correct.
inflation and we're pushing it down the road and that's
Yep.
going to,
And we're gonna review all of those numbers. Those numbers will probably
Great,
change,
great,
and
yeah.
we'll kind of see where they end up.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Do you see anything that can be scaled back whatsoever, or is this a
These are
pretty,
pretty bare. You know, the netting and the bleachers, we're not doing anything fancy.
they kind of just are
we're-
what they are
we're
there. What about the
replacing-
press box or
The press box is
lighting
pretty
or-
bare bones too. The only thing that we really want to make sure is in the project is that it matches the aesthetic looks on the outside.
I would agree, yeah.
And then inside, it's basically just like it inside now. It's gonna have a shelf, it's gonna have some plugins for announcers, for play-by-play guys. And that's more or less it. You know, we're still not gonna have, we're gonna maybe have some fans in there, but that's like what we have in there now. We're not doing AC, we're not doing heat, anything like that.
No Jerry's World.
Nope, no giant play-by-play, big screen in there, so. I think a large, and one thing that I think we can look at is on the bleacher project, there's a lot of concrete underneath. That's mainly your driving force behind the price on that project. So we could go back to rock or anything like that, but that's also more labor intensive than just concrete. You know, if we put it back with the crushed rock, you know, Scott or whoever the crew member is still having to pick it out of the grass and put it back. Just different things, and refilling it every couple of years, you know, adding another couple loads, spreading it out. Kids like playing in there. So, I mean, I would hate to fence off the entire back of that just to keep people out. I don't think that looks the best. Concrete does give you a more stable base. It's not gonna be moving or going anywhere. And it'd be just easier for cleaning
Easier to
purposes
clean,
too.
for sure, yeah.
So we can do a cost comparison to both of those and just kind of see where it comes back at as well. But that's really the main area where I could see there being a way to scale back. The netting, we went with a solid netting, one that we knew. I think there is a cheaper option out there, but talking to other people that had that netting versus have the netting that we are looking after, it's pennies on the dollar that really are the change between the two. Just one you'd have to probably replace every 4 to 5 years, and we want to stay away from that. You know, maybe once every 10 to 15 years is acceptable. Once all the posts are up and the cable are up, we can do a lot of that changing out. Just order the new net with the same specs it was and just rent a machine, put it up ourselves. So,
I'm glad you've thought through all of that. Thank
Yep.
you. So any other questions for Chad? Otherwise, the recommendation is consideration and rejection of the bids. Do we have to acknowledge receipt of the bids, or is that kind of
It's kind of part.
redundant?
We'll put that as one motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'd need a motion to that if someone wants to volunteer to reject the
Rejecting it,
bids.
so moved.
Okay,
Second,
Tom, and then seconded by Carolyn. Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Bauer,
Yes.
Base.
Yes.
Seaman.
yes,
Schreck.
Yes.
Bornero.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thanks. And you got your question answered, Kyle? I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Okay, very good. I think you're still on.
I am. One more.
This
One
is a
more
tr-
and I gotta shut up.
Yeah, this is a
I'm-
grand slam. You get 4 in a row.
Yeah, I haven't talked in 3-4 months, so might as well
Missed
just
you.
put everything on one
Okay,
meeting.
item D is the municipal golf course booster pump station project.
Yeah, so.
Oh,
another
this is a public
yeah,
hearing
another
also,
public
so
hearing.
it's, I call it 5:39. Yeah, that's right, 5:39. Now, Chad.
All right, so on September 7th, 2023, plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost of the municipal golf course booster pump station project, mouthful, were filled by JEO Consulting Group, laid out below. Plans include a complete tear out of the existing pump house and foundation, soil compaction and stabilization, with a new prefab booster pump station installed with an enclosure and new foundation. The specs on this include another AIA document and master spec technical specifications. The form of contract is the 2023 Municipal Golf Course Booster Pump Station for the city of Carroll. The estimated costs from JEO include total construction at $437,510. Excuse me, there's an extra zero on those. And then design and construction contingency set at 20% at $87,510. With total construction opinion costs at $525,200. You can see some of the grant or the funding listed below. You know, there is that discrepancy of about 100,000. We've put money away for the last few years for this project. We were waiting to kind of see where some of these came back because construction will not start on this until fall of 2024. That just looking at the entire project, VFDs are probably 6 months out. The actual station being built itself is probably somewhere in that same realm. So there's nothing we can do about this upcoming fall. And once again, it's one of those projects we have to do fall construction. If we start in the spring and something gets delayed, then we are without water on our golf course for X amount of time. And if we keep going through drought years like we are, then that will be really tough. So, yeah, bid receipt. So that's going to be on Thursday. So we'll kind of see where that comes so we can start, you know, taking a look at next fiscal year funding. And then construction completion is set for December of 2024. And like the others, you know, for consideration, our recommendations for consideration and conduction of the required public hearing and passage and approval of the resolution adopting the plan specifications, form of contract, and estimated costs for the 2023 Municipal Golf Course Booster Pump Station. Mouthful. I'm not an auctioneer like Kyle.
Any questions for Chad on this? Beating us around for about a year and a half, too. I think, Randy, you said the other day that some of your bidders for the water main, which we'll talk about here in a moment, but they were anticipating to bid, so it looks like we might have.
Yeah, I talked to JEO. This
How did
time,
it
2
do?
weeks ago, we had a single plan holder. Now we're up to 5. So that's very encouraging. And I think it basically all came from his same project, a lot of the same companies.
Good. Good. Hope they sharpen their pencil.
Yep.
I did notice, though, that you had a 20% contingency in this, and like just most recently, like the rec, and then also the baseball, that had like a 15%. Is there,
I
did
think it
JEO
kind of
recommend
depends a
that?
little more on each individual engineer, what they feel comfortable with. Have you kind of been seeing between 15 and 20% on a lot of yours, or is it mostly just one or the other?
It varies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's by firm.
Sure.
And their historical experience, and that's what they bring forward to you.
It seems like a lot, but I'm just
There's variables in the different type of construction also. And this one must think that pump stations are pretty variable right now.
well, you certainly, back to Tom, your favorite subject, you certainly have a lot of soil issues
Yep.
out there.
And actually, so we did a
That's
prior
all
CTS
ex-swamp out
test
there, so.
to help put together this bid sheet. So we already know what the soil's going to look like when we get into it. And there's actual stabilization procedures and everything that they're doing as a part of this
So it shouldn't be a
project.
surprise, at least in that front. Any other questions for Chad? None? Did we have any public comment?
Nope, not on this one.
Any golfers?
They're just happy to keep it green.
Another dry year. Okay, it's just turning 5:45, so let's call that, close the public hearing at 5:45. And then per the recommendation, Chad said, following public hearing, passage, and approval of the resolution to adopt the plan specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the, I'm not gonna say it all, the pump house.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Misty and then Kyle. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Seaman?
Yes.
Strack? Yes. Bauer?
Yes.
Base?
Yes.
Bornero?
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, one more public hearing, not gonna miss this one. Okay, item number E on E is 408 West 7th Street, and we'll open the public hearing at 5:45. And Dave, if you don't mind, I'm gonna turn it over to you, who has a little bit more authority than my simple head on these types of subject, but the sale of public property.
Thank you, Mayor. The council is proceeding according to the Iowa Code to sell property that it owns. If you recall, back in August, there were requests for bids, and we did receive, I believe there was a total of 4, and council reviewed those September 11th at the bid report and opening. You also then provided that a public hearing be set and notice of that public hearing be published in the newspaper. Again, all of this is in accordance with the Iowa Code. Public notice has been published in the Carroll newspaper of the council's intent to sell, and we are here today in the midst of the public hearing. There's a group of, I believe there's 4 individuals or consortium of individuals that have submitted a bid of $31,000. So at this time, it's the council's decision and discussion, if you will, to proceed with approving the sale and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract with these individuals, and also approving the mayor to sign the deed, transferring the title to this property to these 4 individuals. They've indicated to us that they may establish a partnership or an LLC, and that will happen this week. So the title will not necessarily be transferred to those 4 individuals, but to whatever partnership or LLC that they establish. So with that, I guess on Aaron's behalf, we would request that council consider the sale and approve it.
So moved.
Second.
Well, we got a public hearing going on right now, so this is for comments, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But Tom, I still like how you roll, Tom, I really do. Any questions about this? It's a
All in Dave's
new,
name.
something new for me, so it's, and remember the emphasis on you're gonna authorize the mayor to sign this, so that was where the emphasis was. I do have a question about, and I probably should have caught this in the first memo from last week from Aaron, but, and I don't know if it even matters, but even for the minutes or whatever, they're gonna name their LLC, but is the Brinks name spelled correctly here? Should that not be CKS or CNCKS?
I think it, yeah.
I bet it's Brinks that way, but I don't know if it matters, but
Well,
I
that was
just-
not actually listed in the minutes or the last minutes, because I think
right,
we had discussed,
But
Dave
it-
and I, that Dan Drake and Jason Rising were the ones who had signed the original
Right.
bid
okay,
and submitted it that way, so that's why we listed just those 2, and then
Okay.
along with, or their successor, partnership, or LLC, because they had
Okay.
indicated that they were gonna set up an entity for
okay.
this.
And you probably think I'm really nuts, but Anderson is SEN, just for the record, so.
And Mayor, that's just in our memo.
Yeah, I
so
just didn't know if it
It doesn't
matters
have
at
any
all. Yeah.
legal effect,
Okay,
but
perfect. So this is again kind of a new thing and you know, moving forward, you know, we're in the process of identifying, you know, abandoned homes and uninhabited properties. And so this could become a little bit more of a regular part of our business here, hoping it doesn't have to come to the extent that this one did. But again, moving forward, this kind of serves, again, as a template, you know, moving forward to some properties that have already been identified. So any Any further comments or questions for Dave or Laura?
My only question was, I just want to confirm that they're planning to start immediately, quickly, right? We're not waiting for anything. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought I remembered reading in that
Yeah.
bid, so,
Yeah, that was part of their bid.
yep,
Yeah.
okay.
Transfer the deed and they're ready to go. Should be. Anything else? All right, Laura, I've got 5:50, so we'll close the public hearing on 408 West 7th Street. And per recommendation is approval of the resolution of the sale of the city interest in real estate to Dan Drake and Jason Rising and whatever their LLC will be. Is there a motion to that?
So moved.
Tom, seconded by Kyle. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Base,
Yes,
Seaman,
Yes,
Bornero,
Yes.
Shrek. Yes. Bauer.
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Thank you. And I just lost my spot, but I think that concludes all of the public hearings, and so I'll move to item 6F, which is wastewater treatment plant. Turn it over to you, Randy.
Thank you, Mayor. The Iowa Department of Natural Resources and the US EPA have required that the city apply for an National Pollutant Discharge Administration System stormwater general permit for the wastewater treatment plant property. To assist in that preparation of the application, we've requested an engineering services agreement from Veenstra & Kim, and we have received that, and it's attached to your memorandum. The scope of services in that agreement are those necessary to make the permit application and prepare a stormwater pollution prevention plan for the wastewater treatment plant property. The fees included in the agreement are not to exceed $9,500. Those fees are not included in the current budget. If this is approved, that budget will be monitored for possible amendment during this fiscal year. So unless there are any questions, I would recommend accepting the engineering services agreement with Veenstra & Kim for the preparation of the stormwater general permit, and not at a cost of not to exceed $9,500.
Good. Any questions for Randy on this one? I think the reason why it wasn't budgeted is because it was a bit of a surprise. This is kind of something new. The way Aaron explained it to me, it's kind of like
Yeah,
big government decided we needed to do this.
yes, we just received notification and then confirmation from the EPA, notification from the DNR and then confirmation from the EPA that this is required.
Very good.
And they don't necessarily work within our budget
Of course
parameters.
not. Jack, that is what we commonly call an unfunded mandate, is what those are. So we have another name for them, but when the camera's off. So I'll share that one with you later if you're over 21. So anyways, yeah, it's just kind of more of the same, but yeah, good news, bad news. Okay, you heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to accept the agreement?
so moved.
Carolyn and JJ. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Base,
yes,
Bauer.
Yes.
Shrek. Yes. Seaman,
Yes,
Bornero.
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Okay. Randy, you are still up, but we do have a public hearing on this guy, and it's just turning over on public hearing.
Nope, just a report of the bid opening.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, the public hearing is for last week. So, yeah, see it, and got to see how you go down this thing and you get confused. Sorry. I'm sorry. So Randy, yeah, report of the bid opening is what we're doing now. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Mayor. On September 19th, proposals were received for the water main replacements project for this year. 5 proposals were received. They are listed in your memorandum. And also, I've attached a detailed summary of those proposals. Jet Drain Services is the apparent lowest bidder on the project. Based on that bid, the total project cost would now be estimated at $594,310. As you recall from the public hearing last meeting, the project funding is at $500,000 in the last two budgets. I believe that further evaluation of the proposals and available funding is necessary on this project, and for that reason, I'm recommending to you deferral of the award of the contract at this point in time to a future council meeting. The project specification actually provides for up to 60 days to award the contract. I wouldn't anticipate deferral for that length of time, that long a time.
That makes perfect sense to me. You and I talked about it a couple times this week, so unless anybody else has any questions, we would need a motion, though, to defer. Would be the correct motion on that. So unless there's any other questions, I'd seek a motion to defer the awarding of the contract for a future council date.
So moved.
JJ,
Second?
second by Carolyn. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Cornero,
Yes.
Bates,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Tract. Motion is approved.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, so unless I've missed anything else or overlooking something, opening up for committee reports, comments from the mayor, I have none. Comments from the city council? And I can guarantee you there's no comments from the city manager tonight. So, Tom, we're at that time.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn, Tom,
So moved.
seconded by JJ. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Tract. Yes. Seaman,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Cornero,
Yes.
Bates.
Yes.
We are adjourned.